So, in your personal life, what are experiences that led you to become a more spiritual person?
Um, I'll give you the ones that I know. And I say that because I think people that are on a spiritual path are going to get there regardless of what happens in their life. I truly believe that. But I also believe that for some people, it finds an accelerator or an impetus in personal events. And so for me, knowing that this could get out to the world and potentially leave me a little vulnerable on some of my own personal matters, I will give you a managed response. I know it's probably not what people want to hear, but I had some challenges in my childhood, so there were some struggles as a kid. And I guess we all have struggles as a kid, but I experienced some difficulty at home, however nondescript that is. And then I think the two big ones that started to develop as I got older, I had some really nasty digestive problems. They're actually still with me in varying degrees. So I've had some pretty bad health challenges that no matter how much effort I put into them, they never found a solution. And as I got older, I started to experience some really bad sleep impairment, some nervous system dysregulation. So as my health started to worsen and I couldn't find solutions with practical tools, I started to question whether there was something else at hand here that was maybe culprit behind my health struggles. And some of my health issues really started to get quite serious. And so over time, my belief shifted from trying to find some pill, supplement, medication, or treatment to fix my ailments and rather shifted to this mentality that I was misaligned, meaning the work that I was doing, the way I was living my life, the stress that I was under, the people I was interacting with, that it was really not part of my intention. And so as that mentality started to build up more and more and I started to get deeper into my spiritual pursuits, astrology was a wonderful conduit to kind of transition me into that, which I picked up a number of years ago. But as I went deeper into classic astrology and started to study more um, various spiritual modalities, it started to resonate with me so loudly that eventually it started to put my entire practical career into perspective, and it started to bring to mind this whole concept that maybe I was just completely misaligned. Um, I don't know. I was a little. Does that answer it?
It's good. What about your environment, your surroundings, the city you lived in?
Um,
Do you think
yeah.
that
So
helped you put yourself in a more spiritual world as well?
it's ironic because I lived in New York for ages, and New York has a spiritual element, but it's kind of like a practical, managed, financially motivated spiritual energy. Like, let's all do yoga at the trendiest new yoga studio, and I hope you don't mind paying $50 or whatever it is for a class. I didn't get into yoga, but that kind of energy. So, and I know obviously any spiritual pursuits are better than none, but in New York it didn't feel enhanced. I ended up, because of a lot of my health challenges and just being exhausted with my time in New York, I wound up down in Miami. And the personalities in Miami were quite alternative. And there was an astrologer that I met while living on the beach there, who showed me my chart, and it was like this incredible light went off, and I just was hooked. Like I had a sense that I just had to go deeper into that space. So there's definitely some motivations there. And then I just all the personalities that as there's an energetic there's a vibrational energy that governs all of our beings, and if we live you know what like attracts like, and the energy that we give off ends up returning those type of people. So as I took a curiosity and interest in the spiritual pursuits, the spiritual people started to manifest in my life. And so I started to give off more of that energy. I started to pursue it. These people started to come to me. Some of the judgment and expectations that perhaps I had carried in my 20s started to fade away in my 30s and start to open up my mind more to alternative lifestyles. That combined certainly with living in a climate by virtue of it being just hot all the time, Miami creates kind of Southern Florida creates a very funny dynamic where you could be outdoors and you're meeting people in some eclectic settings and you're just kind of in a more fluid state. Um, and it's like you can't, no, people aren't wearing suits and you're not judging them by their physical appearance as much. It's a much more casual atmosphere, and that I think lended itself much better to just incorporating more spiritual people and energies into my life. So, yeah, and then I wound up in London, and I wound up at a wonderful spiritual center, and I ended up taking a course on astrology, and I met this just incredible spiritual mind who had been on this path. He had, I wouldn't say rejected, he actually deviated from his own very practical journey at some point, and he went deeply into the spiritual space, and I connected with him brilliantly. I was just super impressed with the way he articulated some of these spiritual concepts, and he became an incredible catapult to really launch me deeper into this space. And I still, now years later, I work with him on a regular basis to help fine-tune some of my own ideas and to really open my mind to much more complex and sophisticated concepts that I ever even knew existed when I first got into this space years ago. So, yeah, I mean, simple recap. So, difficult upbringing, kind of searching for answers, some alternative energy that was always coursing through me at an early age that started to pick up more negative energies as I got older, and I realized that I was misaligned perhaps with some of my own intentions. Watching my physical body start to falter at a particularly young age and worsen as I got into my 30s and then especially my 40s. And then overall, meeting incredible people who were just incredibly inspirational, who had transcended so much suffering in their life and done it so deeply with their spiritual intentions that just made it all possible.